What if the depression, the lethargy, the numbness, and the fear you feel aren't signs that something is broken inside you, but signs that something is desperately trying to break out? We are told that to be civilized is to kill the beast within. We are taught to smooth out our edges, to be harmless, to be nice. But Carl Jung discovered a terrifying paradox that modern society has tried to bury. A man who is not capable of great evil is not capable of great good. He is only capable of being harmless. And harmlessness is not virtue, it is impotence. There is a story, older than the Brothers Grimm, buried in the pre-Christian forests of memory, about a creature covered in hair and rust, living at the bottom of a deep pond. Robert Bly called him Iron John. He is not a monster to be slain. He is the guardian of your golden ball, the spark of life, creativity, and masculine authority you lost somewhere between childhood and the cubicle. Most men spend their entire lives guarding the cage where they locked this wild man, thinking they are protecting the world from him. But in reality, they are starving themselves. They become what the myth calls the passive prince. Men who are exhausted not by work, but by the sheer caloric effort of repressing their own shadow. You feel this, don't you? That heat in the middle of the night. That is not insomnia, that is the Iron John rattling the bars of the cage, demanding to initiate you. Today, we are going to perform a psychological excavation. We are not just going to talk about shadow work as a buzzword. We are going to walk through the ancient stages of the Iron John initiation. First, we will identify exactly where you lost the golden ball and why the modern world is designed to keep you separated from it. Then we will look at the terrifying necessity of stealing the key from under the mother's pillow, the metaphor that Robert Bly used to describe the only way a man can reclaim his sovereign power. We will explore the ashes work and the redeeming, the alchemical stages of turning raw aggression into kingly energy. This is not about becoming a savage. It is about becoming whole. In the opening of the Iron John story, something seemingly trivial happens. The king's son is playing in the castle courtyard with a golden ball. It is his most prized possession. It shines with its own light. It represents that feeling you had when you were 8 years old. That sensation that the day was eternal, that your energy was boundless, that you were the center of a living, breathing universe. And then the ball rolls away. It rolls straight into the cage of the wild man. This is the first catastrophe of the masculine soul. Jung called this the loss of the numinous. Robert Bly called it the loss of the golden ball. You know exactly when this happened to you. Maybe it was when you were told to sit still and be quiet in school. Maybe it was the first time you chose a career based on safety rather than passion. The golden ball, your joy, your instinct, your gut-level authority, is now in the possession of the hairy, rusty giant at the bottom of your psyche. And the tragedy of the modern man is that he stands outside the cage, asking politely for his ball back. But the wild man does not negotiate with polite boys. Here is where we must perform a painful surgery on our modern identity. Robert Bly, writing in the 1990s, identified a phenomenon that has only metastasized in the 2020s. He saw that men had successfully rejected the old patriarch, the toxic, domineering, unfeeling father figure of the 1950s. This was a necessary rejection, but in doing so, men swung to the opposite extreme. They became what Bly called the soft male. The soft male is a nice guy, but not out of virtue, out of fear. He is perfectly politically correct, following every social convention and new trends, not because he believes in them, but because he is terrified of conflict. He has no internal compass, no principles that he is willing to fight for, and he has completely severed the connection to his own gut instinct and intuition. This creates a dangerous fragility. He becomes emotionally dependent, often turning his partner into a mother figure for validation, because he cannot stand as an autonomous center of strength. He is a satellite looking for a planet, never realizing he was meant to be a sun. He lacks vitality. He has no fire in the belly. He is life-preserving, but he is not life-giving. He is a walking apology for his own power. They believe that if they just suppress the Iron John deep enough, they will be safe, they will be loved. But the psyche doesn't work that way. As Jung warned us, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. By trying to be purely good and harmless, the modern man forces his primal energy into the unconscious. And what happens to energy when it is repressed? It doesn't disappear, it rots. It turns into resentment, it turns into passive aggressiveness, it turns into that sudden, inexplicable rage that explodes over a minor traffic violation. The nice guy is not actually nice. He is a ticking time bomb of unintegrated shadow. we must clarify a dangerous confusion. When we speak of awakening the beast, society immediately recoils. They imagine the savage. The savage is the man who hurts others because he has no discipline. The savage is the toxic masculinity that burns down villages, starts wars, and abuses the weak. This is what the soft male is terrified of becoming. But the wild man, the Iron John archetype, is not a savage. He is something else entirely. Imagine a Zen master who can meditate for hours but can also draw a sword and cut a bamboo stalk in half with a single stroke. That is the wild man. Imagine a father who is gentle with his daughter but would tear a wolf apart with his bare hands if it threatened her. That is the wild man. The wild man is conscious aggression. It is strength under control. It is the protective warrior rather than the mindless destroyer. The savage has no soul. The wild man is all soul, but it is a soul connected to the earth, to the mud, to the blood. Iron John lives in the water, in the deep forest. He is in touch with nature's brutality and its beauty. To get your golden ball back, you don't need to become a criminal. You need to become formidable. You need to integrate the capacity for danger so that your peace becomes a choice, not a lack of options. So, how do you get the ball back? In the story, the wild man tells the boy, "I will give you the ball, but first, you must open my cage." The boy says, "I don't have the key." The wild man replies, "The key is under your mother's pillow." This is the most terrifying line in the entire myth. It is the what if that changes everything. What if the reason you feel stuck is that you are still waiting for permission? Stealing the key from under the mother's pillow is a metaphor for breaking the psychological bond with the matriarchy. Not just your biological mother, but the entire world of comfort, safety, and external validation. The mother's pillow represents the soft place. It represents the need to be a good boy. It represents the fear of disappointing others. To open the cage of your masculinity, you have to do something that feels like a betrayal. You have to stop being the pleaser. You have to risk not being liked in order to be respected. You have to steal the key. You have to accept that to find your strength, you must leave the garden of comfort and enter the forest of ashes. This brings us to the edge of the forest. We know the golden ball is in the cage. We know the key is under the pillow. But what happens when you actually turn the lock? What happens when you let the wild man out? The myth tells us that the boy releases Iron John and runs away with him into the forest. This is the beginning of the initiation. It is not a single moment, but a process. The ancients understood that you cannot just decide to be a man. You must be forged. There are specific stages, tests of fire, ash, and gold, that every man must pass through to integrate this energy. Robert Bly decoded these stages from the folklore, and Jung mapped them in the human mind. If you are ready to stop being the passive prince and start the descent, we must look at the 4 specific labors of the Iron John. Once the boy steals the key from under his mother's pillow and releases the wild man, a terrifying thing happens. He doesn't immediately become a king. He doesn't get a parade. He enters the forest, and Iron John gives him a job, and the job is not glorious. The job is to sit by the well and watch the water, to protect it, to do nothing but be present with the muck, the dirt, and the danger. In the fairy tale, the boy eventually fails this task and runs away again, finding himself working in a strange kingdom as a kitchen boy, sitting in the ashes. Robert Bly calls this the ashes work, or katabasis, the descent. This is the stage that modern culture desperately tries to skip. We want to go from the mother's house straight to the CEO's office. We want to go from child to star. But the ancient initiation rites say, no, first you must go down. You must become invisible. You must lose your status. You must sit in the ashes. You have likely felt this phase in your own life, perhaps right now. It manifests as a period of profound stagnation, depression, or invisibility. You feel like you are overqualified for your life. You feel dirty, unnoticed, unappreciated. The modern ego screams against this. It says, I am special. I should be recognized. But Iron John whispers, sit in the ashes. Learn what you are made of when no one is clapping. This is the alchemical stage of Nigredo, the blackening. It is the decomposition of the false ego. The nice guy persona, the one who smiles to get approval, cannot survive in the ashes. In the kitchen of the soul, you learn to work not for applause, but for the work itself. You learn to eat your own shadow. This means you stop projecting your darkness onto others. You stop blaming your father, your boss, or society for your lack of power. You sit in the mess of your own potential, and you wait. This is the hardest part of the protocol because it feels like failure. But it is not failure. It is incubation. A seed cannot grow in the light. It must be buried in the dirt first. If you are in a period of ashes work right now, stop fighting it. Stop trying to escape into video games or cheap dopamine. Embrace the obscurity. This is where the wild man is teaching you the first lesson of sovereignty. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less so that you can observe reality without the distortion of your ego. But the ashes are only the preparation. Once you have learned to survive the dark, you must learn to handle the fire. This leads us to the second and perhaps most painful stage of the initiation. In the story, after the boy has spent time in the ashes, he begins to work in the garden. But he has a secret. His hair has turned golden from dipping it into Iron John's wild spring. He hides this gold under a cap. He has touched the wildness, and it has changed him physically. This corresponds to what alchemists called the rubedo, or the redeeming. This is the stage where a man reconnects with his aggression. Now pause. Notice your reaction to the word aggression. If you are like most modern men, you flinched. You have been conditioned to equate aggression with abuse. You have been taught that anger is a negative emotion that must be managed or medicated. Robert Bly makes a critical distinction here. He distinguishes between hostility and aggression. Hostility is the desire to destroy. Aggression is simply energy. It is the force that drives a root through the soil. It is the force that drives a man to build a business, to protect his family, to conquer a fear. Without aggression, there is no life. A man without aggression is not virtuous. He is merely inert. The redeeming is the process of feeling the heat in your belly and not venting it. Think of a pressure cooker. If you leave the lid off, the steam escapes and cooks nothing. This is the man who yells at traffic, gets in Twitter fights, or complains constantly. He is leaking his heat. He is venting his pressure. But if you keep the lid on, if you contain that heat, the pressure builds. And that pressure transforms the raw ingredients inside into something new. Bly calls this the warrior energy. It is the ability to stand in a room and have others feel your presence without you saying a word. It is the capacity for danger that makes you safe. As Jordan Peterson, echoing Jung, often says, you should be a monster, and then you should learn to control it. The practice here is physical and visceral. You cannot think your way into the redeeming. You must act your way into it. This is why martial arts are so crucial in this stage. Not to learn how to fight, but to learn how to be dangerous and disciplined simultaneously. When you are sparring, you are tapping into Iron John's energy. You are feeling the adrenaline, the urge to strike, the fear of being struck, and you are regulating it. You are holding the golden ball. If you skip this stage, if you remain the soft male who is afraid of his own anger, you will never be able to protect anything. You will be a nice gardener, but when the wolves come, and they always come, you will have nothing but polite words to offer. And wolves do not speak English, but there is a trap in the redeeming. Many men get stuck here. They become addicted to the heat. They become gym bros or aggressive tyrants. They forget that the heat is a tool, not the master. To move to the next level, you must understand that this energy serves a higher purpose. You must discover the wound. Every initiated man carries a wound. In the Iron John story, the boy injures his finger while trying to protect the golden ball. In the Arthurian legends, the Fisher King has a wound in his thigh that never heals. In Norse mythology, Odin gives up an eye to gain wisdom. The modern world tells you that trauma is something to be fixed, so you can return to being a productive consumer. We treat emotional wounds like broken carburetors. Swap out the part, get back on the road. But the mytho-poetic perspective is different. Iron John teaches us that your wound is not a mistake. It is a portal. The place where you were hurt the deepest, perhaps by your father's absence, by a humiliation in school, by a failure in love. That is the exact location where your soul entered your body. That is where your gravity comes from. Think about the men you respect most. Do they seem like men who have had easy lives? Or do they seem like men who have carried a heavy load and become stronger for it? Bly argues that the uninitiated man tries to hide his wound. He pretends he is perfect. He wears a mask of invulnerability. This is the false king. He is brittle. If you touch his wound, he lashes out. The initiated man, the man who has walked with Iron John, acknowledges the wound. He doesn't whine about it. He doesn't use it to get pity. He simply knows it is there. He knows that his capacity for compassion comes from his own pain. He knows that his drive to succeed comes from his fear of nothingness. This is where the golden ball begins to glow again. When you stop trying to be healed and start trying to be whole, the energy shifts. You realize that your shadow, the parts of you that were rejected, contains the very gold you need. The practice here is grief work. It is the ability to grieve what you didn't get from your father, what you didn't get from society, without becoming a victim. A victim says, "Look what they did to me." A warrior says, "This happened, it broke me open, and now I am larger than I was before." When you accept the wound, you stop looking for the key under the mother's pillow. You stop looking for mommy to kiss it better. You stand up, bleeding, and you say, "This is mine. This pain is my fuel." And once you have the heat and the wound, you are finally ready for the fourth stage. You are ready to stop being the prince and start becoming the king. In the final act of the story, the boy, now a young man who has worked in the ashes, felt the heat and carried the wound, rides into battle to save the kingdom. But he doesn't do it alone. He calls out to Iron John. The wild man emerges from the forest with an army of iron soldiers and 3 horses. A red one, passion, a white one, purity, and a black one, mystery, death. This is the moment of integration. This is what Jung called individuation. It is the moment you realize that Iron John was never a separate being. He was you all along. He was the dormant neural pathways of sovereignty that you were afraid to activate. The mistake most men make is thinking they have to choose between being civilized and being wild. They think, I can either be a successful corporate drone, or I can be a free spirit living in a van. The integration stage reveals the third option, the sovereign. The sovereign is the man who brings the forest into the city. He wears the suit, but you can smell the pine and the blood on him. He follows the laws of society, but he is not bound by them. He is bound by a higher internal code. When he speaks in a meeting, people listen, not because he has a title, but because he has mass. He has the iron in his spine. This brings us to the concept of the king's garden from the story. The boy eventually reveals his golden hair, his true nature, not to show off, but to serve. He marries the princess, not as a prize, but as a partner. He restores order to the kingdom. How do you apply this? You stop compartmentalizing your life. You stop being nice guy at work and angry guy in the car. You merge them. You bring your boundaries, your no, and your authority into your relationships. You stop asking for permission to exist. You realize that the golden ball and that joy and vitality you lost was never lost. It was just waiting for you to be strong enough to hold it without dropping it. Bly says that the king energy is impersonal. It blesses everyone. The sun doesn't choose who to shine on, it just shines. When you integrate Iron John, you become a generator of energy for your family and your community. You become a man who can be trusted with power because you have sat in the ashes and you know what it costs. But there is one final lingering question, a ghost that haunts even the initiated man. We have talked about the psychological journey, the myth, the archetype. But what about the physics of it? What if this isn't just a story about your mind? What if the Iron John archetype is actually a biological frequency, a literal vibration in your DNA that the modern digital world is actively trying to jam? What if the signal is being blocked and your depression is just the static noise of a lost connection? To understand this, we have to look at the final mind-bending reality of what it means to be wild in a digital cage. Here is where the fairy tale stops being a story and starts being a diagnosis of the modern soul. Robert Bly warned us about the negative mother, the energy that wants to keep the boy safe, soft, and dependent. In the ancient world, this was a family dynamic. But today, look around. The mother has expanded. It has become the collective. We live in an era of intoxicating conformity. The negative mother energy of today is the overwhelming pressure to dissolve your sovereign self into the safety of the herd. It whispers, don't be an individual, just agree with the trend. Be accepted, be safe. This is why the soft male is so prevalent. He is not just nice, he is terrified of standing alone. He has traded his spine for approval. He becomes a moral relativist, bending with the wind of every new social trend, terrified of being cancelled or exiled from the group warmth. He has no center, so he adopts the center of the mass. He becomes part of a maneuverable mass, fragile, easily offended and desperate to signal his virtue because he lacks the quiet confidence of real virtue. Iron John stands in direct opposition to this. The wild man is the archetype of separation. He does not ask the collective for permission to exist. He does not check the current thing before deciding what is true. Iron John is the part of you that is capable of saying no when the entire room is saying yes. This is the terrifying twist. The battle is not just against your own laziness. It is against the seductive pull of the hive mind. The world wants you to be a passive prince, harmless, predictable, and obedient to the consensus. But initiation requires you to break that contract. It requires you to be willing to be disliked in exchange for being real. The heat you feel in your chest, that is the friction of your sovereign soul trying to resist being ground down into a statistic. It is the iron in your blood refusing to melt. So what happens if you actually do this? What happens if you integrate the wild man in a world that wants you tame? You become a glitch in the matrix. You become dangerous to the status quo, not because you are violent, but because you are sovereign. A sovereign man cannot be easily manipulated by fear-mongering news because he has faced his own internal darkness. He cannot be bribed with comfort because he has sat in the ashes and knows he can survive without applause. This is the ultimate responsibility of the Iron John Protocol. It is not just about you feeling more manly. It is about the fact that a society without initiated men inevitably collapses into chaos or tyranny. When there are no kings, men who have integrated their aggression and their compassion, the shadow kings take over. We see this in our leaders, our institutions, our culture. We see petty tyrants who have never done the ashes work, wielding power they didn't earn, terrified of losing it. The world is starving for the true king energy. It is starving for men who have retrieved the golden ball and are willing to hold it up not to dazzle others, but to light the way for those coming after them. If you initiate yourself, you stop looking for a father to save you. You become the father that your younger self needed. You become the mentor. You become the breakwater that stops the waves of chaos from hitting your family. But be warned, the moment you start this, the soft world will try to pull you back. Your friends might say you've changed. They might say you're too intense. Good. That means the rust is falling off. That means the Iron John is surfacing. We end where we began, with the golden ball. Bly leaves us with a haunting image. He says that the golden ball is not just vitality, it is memory. It is the memory of who you were before the world told you who to be. The ancient Gnostics believed that we are all asleep, drunk on the watered-down wine of the material world. They believed that awakening was simply the act of remembering our royal origin. Perhaps the wild man isn't a stranger. Perhaps he is the part of you that never forgot. He is the part of you that remembers what it feels like to run without fatigue, to speak without filtering, to love without bargaining. He has been waiting at the bottom of the pond for 20, 30, maybe 40 years. He is patient. Iron does not rot, it only waits. But he will not wait forever. There comes a time when the cage rusts shut. There comes a time when the key under the pillow is lost. So here is the question that should keep you awake tonight, not with anxiety, but with excitement. If you were to walk into the forest of your own psyche right now, tonight in the dark, would you run from the giant covered in hair, or would you recognize him? The cage is unlocked. It always has been. The only thing keeping the door closed is you. Go get the ball back. If this excavation of the masculine soul resonated with you, if you felt the heat of the key in your hand, consider subscribing. This channel is dedicated to the mysteries that the modern world tries to bury. We are not here to give you answers. We are here to deepen the questions. Share this with a man who needs to hear it. The hunt continues.